Okay, so we're starting with day 7 today. So this is a continuation of our polar graphs. Yesterday we worked on circles and rose curves. So today we're going to be talking about 3 different types of limicons, and then we're going to be talking about lemniscats. So we're going to start out with our limicons. So guys, in general, for something to be a limicon, it's going to have the form A, it could be positive or negative, B cosine theta, or the same thing but with sine theta. So when we have circles, remember it would have just been this B cosine theta. It wouldn't have had this extra number added or subtracted out front. And then when we had rose curves, we didn't have the number added or subtracted out front, and we had a number with the theta. So for limicons, they're going to have this extra number added out front, and it's just going to be a single theta inside instead of a number like with the rose curve. So 3 different types, and we'll look specifically in a minute with what each type and how do you know which one. But inner loop is going to look like this. So it's called an inner loop because it has the inner loop here. Cardioid makes a heart shape. And then dimpled looks like the heart shape, but the cardioid goes into the pole here, whereas the dimpled is going to go in at a different place besides at the pole. It says all limicons need 2 pi radians to trace out. So remember, when it talks about tracing out, 2 pi means you're going to use all 4 quadrants whenever you graph each type of these limicons. Okay, so we're going to start with our inner loop limicon. So in order for something to be an inner loop limicon, this means that B has to be the bigger number. So B is going to be bigger than A. So we have different versions of this. So if this says A plus B cosine theta, because we have this positive and we have positive cosine, this is going to be located to the right of the pole. Okay? Because this is negative and cosine, then this is going to be left of the pole. This is positive sine, so above the pole, and then negative sine below the pole. So cosine and sine still go with x and y. Whether it's positive or negative tells you either left or right or above or below. Okay, so a couple things that we need to get, and the formulas are right here. A plus B, when we add A plus B together, that tells us the length of the limicon from the pole. So I'm going to take just this first one to look at. So if we go from the pole and we go here, you would add A plus B to get that number. If you do B minus A, that tells you how long the loop is going to be. So you're also going to go from the pole to get where that's going to be. And then the value of A is going to tell you how far up and how far down to go. In this case here, if it was above the pole, that would mean moving left and right. Okay, so I'm going to leave this screen up here. I have these printed out today, so hopefully it'll be a lot easier to see my graphs. So for the first one, we have R equals 2 plus 3 sine theta. So my A value here is 2, and my B value here is 3. So because B is bigger, that means we're going to have an inner loop. So an inner loop limicon. Okay, so what do you need to do to get this? First thing, we need to notice that it's positive sine. So because it's positive sine, it's going to be above the pole. Okay. Alright, so what we're going to do, we need to add A plus B. So we're adding 2 plus 3, and that gives us 5. So because we're going to be above the pole, we're going to put 1 dot at the pole, and the other dot we're going to count up 5 spaces. Okay, to get where our loop is going to go, you're going to do B minus A, so 3 minus 2 will give you 1. So you're still going to go from the pole, but this time you're only going to go up 1 space. Alright, so this is going to show us like how far up it's going to go, but I need to know how far right and left it's going to go. So to get how far left and right, you're always going to use your A value, which in this case is 2. So I'm going to go to the right 2 spaces and to the left 2 spaces. Okay, so those are your dots. Here's how you can draw this in. For the top part, you're just going to connect, so make a circular shape. And then we have to draw our inner loop. So if you hit this pole, you can go up to your point for your loop, and then you can draw it down like that. So that is what your inner loop limicon is going to look like. Okay, so if you look at the one to the right of this, 3 minus 5 cosine theta. So our A is 3 and our B is 5. because b is the bigger number, we're going to have an inner loop. Okay, so also we need to think about, because it is negative cosine, that means cosine is x, so this is going to be the left of the pole. Alright, so we're going to be moving left of the pole. So we need to do a plus b to figure out how far left we're going to go. So if we add the 3 plus 5, we're going to get 8. So we're going to have one dot at the pole, and we're going to go left 8 spaces. So all the way to the end. To figure out where the loop goes, you're going to do b minus a, which is 2. So your loop, you're going to go to the left 2 spaces. So here we know how far left it goes, but we don't know how far up and down it goes. So you're always going to use the a value to get that. So from the pole, we're going to go up 3, and we're going to go down 3. And then we can draw this in. So we have like a circular shape here. Then we're going to go to our pole, loop, and then go back. So it should look something similar to that. Okay? So then same thing for the other ones. Here we have a is 2 and b is 4. So because b is bigger, we have an inner loop. We have positive cosine this time. So positive x means we're going to go right of the pole. Alright, so we need to add a plus b. So 2 plus 4 will give us 6. So we're going to have one dot at the pole, and we're moving right 6 spaces this time. To get where our loop goes, we're going to do b minus a, so 4 minus 2 will give us 2. So for our loop, we're going to go right 2 spaces. To figure out how far up and down we're going to use that a value, which is 2. So up 2 spaces and down 2 spaces. So then we can draw in, so circular shape on this side. Then you're going to hit your pole and make your loop. Keeping in mind that it is taking 2 pi radians to trace all of these, because if you notice we've used all 4 quadrants every time you've drawn on these. Alright, last one for this. So our a is 1, a is 1, b is 4. Because b is bigger, we have an inner loop. Because this is negative sine, we're going to be below the pole. Okay, so we're going to do a plus b, so 1 plus 4 will give us 5. So we're going to have a dot at the pole, and we're going to go, sorry, this is negative b, so we're going to go down 5. Okay, to figure out where our loop's going to go, we're going to do b minus a, so 4 minus 1 will give us 3. So our loop's going to be at 3. To figure out how far right and left this time, we're going to go over a spaces, so a is just 1. So this one's going to be kind of skinny. So we're going to have circular type shape here. Oh, and then we got a big loop for that part there. Okay. So those are inner loop limicons. This is when b is bigger than a. Sine or cosine just tells you where the actual limicon is going to go, and your loop is always on the same side that where your limicon goes. Okay. So next up, we're going to look at cardioids. So cardioids happen when a is equal to b. So they're going to look exactly the same format that the inner loop did, but a is going to be equal to b. So if you see here, we just used a twice, which is fine. So what we're going to do here, if we add a plus a, so in other words, add a plus b, that tells you how far your cardioid is going to go. It's always going to make a heart shape into the pole, so you're not going to have that extra little dot. Think about it, if you subtract a minus b or b minus a, it's going to give you 0 because they're the same number. So no loop here. And then to go up or down in this case, you're still going to use that same a value. So it's very similar to the inner loop that you already did. Alright, so let's take a look at these. So for the first one, we have 3 minus 3 cosine theta. So our a is 3 and our b is also 3. So because those are the same, this is going to be a cardioid. Okay, I do my formulas the same way as I did the other ones, just so they all kind of sound like you're learning different formulas. So because we have negative cosine, that tells us we're going to be left of the pole. And then I add my a plus b. Well, a plus b is 3 plus 3, so that's going to be 6. So I'm going to have one dot at the pole. We're going left, and we're going to go left 6 spaces. Okay, we don't have that inner loop this time, and if you want to think about it, if we did b minus a, that gives you 0, so that's why we don't have an inner loop. And then the a value always tells you the other increment that you need. So we're going to go up 3 spaces, and we're going to go down 3 spaces. And then this is a heart shape. This part is circular like we did on the inner loop, but then you're going to make a heart shape into your pole. So it's going to look something like that. Alright, so next we have A is 4 and B is also 4. Because they're the same, this is a cardioid. Because we have positive sign, we're going to be above the pole. Okay, so to figure out how far above, we're going to add A plus B, which is going to give us 8. So one dot at the pole, we're going to go up 8 spaces. To figure out how far left and right, you're going to use that A value. And then you can draw in your heart shape. Makes the heart with the pole there. Okay. So real quick, this is just a different way to write this. If you were to distribute out this 2, we would have 2 minus 2 sine theta. Okay, so a lot of times with cardioids, they factor out the number they have in common. So you might see that. So here, A is 2 and B is 2. They're the same, so this is a cardioid. Because this is a negative sign, we're going to be below the pole. So we're going to have 1 point at the pole. We're going to do A plus B, which is going to be 4, and we're going to move down 4 spaces. And then to the right and left, you're going to use that A value of 2. Something like that. And then the last one for the cardioid, same thing here. So this is the same thing as 4 plus 4 cosine theta. So your A is 4 and your B is 4. Because those are both 4, we are working with a cardioid. Because this is positive cosine, we're going to be going to the right of the pole. And so we're going to do A plus B, which will give us 8. So we're going to go right 8 spaces. And then A, which is 4, tells us how far up and down we're going to go. And then you can draw in your cardioid. So we have inner loop so far, which is where B is bigger. We have cardioid where A and B are the same thing. And cardioid makes the heart shape.